Welcome to Be a Better Marketer podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Rosenstein. Today I have the honor of interviewing Jennifer Glass. Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Daniel.
I know you have a very impressive background. You're an award-winning business growth architect, best-selling author, speaker, TV show, and you have your own podcast as well, right?
I do actually have two shows that I've got, but yes,
Well, you'd like to start off by introducing yourself to the audience?
absolutely. Thank you so much, Daniel. And I want to thank all of you for coming, listening to this show, watching this show, and really taking a step at improving your own business. As Daniel was saying, my name is Jennifer Glass, and I am a business growth architect. What that means is I work with business owners and I help them figure out what it is that they are doing in their business and how we can possibly make it better for them in their business. And I have quite a few different brands that I have under my Business Growth Strategies International company. And at the end of the day, they're all really designed to help grow my clients' bottom lines. We know how important it is to be getting even more opportunities, leads, and profits coming in. And that's what I do with my clients all the time. And I've got my podcast, my books, even a TV show that I'm a producer on. And it is such a great opportunity. And Daniel, again, thank you so much for having me on your show today.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing all that, Jennifer. So I know, like you said, you work on a lot of different projects. Is there one in particular now that you're excited about you want to share with the audience?
Absolutely. So again, as I mentioned, as a business growth architect, one of the things that I'm doing is working as a business coach with my clients. And a lot of people have heard the term business coach, and a lot of people use the term business coach in a lot of different ways. I mean, I was blown away when I saw an insurance guy calling himself a business coach because he's coaching businesses how to get insurance. And so it really is an interesting way that people just say, okay, fine, I am a business coach. And a lot of folks also, because the entry or the barrier to entry in the coaching world is so little, a lot of people hang out a shingle and say, hey, I'm a coach, work with me. And the truth is that they really don't know what they're doing. And the problem with that is that it gives the other coaches a really bad name. And so I want you to forget about everything that you've heard about business coaches in the past, please. And I want you to really just focus in on a couple of things. One is, does the person really understand the market that they're in? Does the person have actual success? Does the person have an idea of what to do? And as Daniel and I are talking today, I'm sure that you're going to realize pretty quickly, you know what? She really does have a clue what she's talking about. And maybe if I'm interested, I'll have a conversation too. But again, I don't even want to ask you to reach out to me for that. I want you to, first of all, take value and more importantly, take action on what we talk about today in your own business. And if it still is something that makes sense to you, then we'll talk.
Great. So, you talked about the different types of business coaches. What type of business coach are you?
I am a profit oriented business coach. What that means is I'm trying to find what you are doing in your business and finding those opportunities, the untapped areas in your business that we can exploit to maximize revenue. I'm looking at those areas in your business where maybe we need to say, you know what, this is something else that we can be doing. Something may not be working and we need to make that shift. So things along those lines, that becomes very important. I do a lot of that in the marketing realm where we really understand, all right, who is your avatar? What are you trying to do? How are you trying to find them? But then also really understanding what profit means. Again, everyone says they want to be making $1 million a year in business. Don't ask me where that number came from and why every single entrepreneur that starts out says, I want to be making $1 million a year in business. And that's a great goal, by the way, to be making $1 million. But the issue that I want to ask you as you're thinking about that, Do you want to make $1 million, or do you want to keep as much of that $1 million as possible in your pocket? And there's a very, very big difference. Somebody could be making $1 million a year in revenue and only be taking home $50,000, or somebody can be making $1 million a year in revenue and taking home about $600,000-700,000 a year. And very big difference in terms of that size. Revenue feeds your ego, profit feeds your family. And as you think about what you're doing with that, and when you're working with a coach like me, profit becomes the more important aspect. And that's why I mentioned earlier that it's leads, opportunities, and profit, not just revenues.
Can you share a little bit about like your our journey as like a business entrepreneur? Like what inspired you to start helping like businesses with their marketing and growth and their profits?
Absolutely, Daniel. So let me share a story of how I got started to give you an idea. Straight out of school, I went to work for one of the first voice over internet phone companies. And in that role, I was in the sales department. And when you're in sales, you know that sales and marketing sometimes are very intrinsically linked, and sometimes they are like rams battling each other because they don't see eye to eye. But one of the things, though, that I was doing as part of the role that I was in the sales department was I was helping my clients who were buying reseller programs from us and helping them in their own marketing opportunities so that they can sell through the 25, 50, $100,000 reseller deals that they purchased from me. At the end of the day, part of it was totally self-serving. I'll be honest. If they sold through, they were going to buy more. And my commission was based on them buying more. And so one of the things that I started doing though was I told people, all right, here is a marketing plan. Here's how we are going to be doing whatever it is that needed to be done to sell through the 25, 50, $100 calling cards that they were buying from us. So the more that we were able to get there and we were able to say, you know what? I now have this. I now have that. Great. You are moving forward and we are all seeing opportunity. What I started doing then was continuing on in my career. I started taking more and more responsibilities in the marketing direct areas. So, as an example, the AOL deals that we had, for those of you that are a certain age, America Online, AOL. And I'm sure some of you still know people that have the at AOL.com email address. One of my best friends still does too. A couple of my clients do too, but that's an entirely different story. But the AOL deals, I was in charge of those deals as far as the marketing aspect with my company. And so coming up with the pricing and the marketing and things along those lines that we were doing, because again, that was a joint venture that we did together with AOL and the company that I was working for. And so we had that kind of opportunity. And again, throughout my career, helping people in the marketing, helping with that overall process was something that I was doing. And when I started my own business in 2005, yes, I'm that old to be doing it. But when I started my business in 2005, I knew going in, I needed to be helping my clients really continue growing their business. And I started my business in the credit card processing space. And back then, it was really easy. I mean, the industry was pre PayPal, pre Square, pre Stripe, before all of those companies that we all know about today. And one of the things that my clients kept on coming to me for was, all right, you help me here, now help me that. I need this. How can you do that? And all of these different pieces I started providing for my clients. And eventually they said, all right, now I need you to help me continue growing my business. And that's what started my coaching business and going from there. And as they say, the rest is history.
Well, I haven't heard anybody mention AOL in a really long time. I used to be like an AOL user, and I remember with those dial-up modems. It took like forever, at least like it seemed like forever to get access to the internet. And I remember it's like that was like everything, that when the internet first became public, it was all about, AOL email and sharing your AOL stuff and using the AOL chat.
Oh yes, AOL Instant Messenger and ICQ and all of those platforms. Those were, back in the day. Yes.
So you mentioned a little bit about like a joint venture. So for people in the audience who may not know what that is, can you explain what is a joint venture?
Absolutely, and thank you. So, simply put, a joint venture is where two or more parties decide to enter into an agreement, whether it's a formal agreement, informal agreement, that is, a different conversation, but they enter into an agreement with the understanding that they want to cross represent each other and help each other grow their business. Now, informally speaking, a simple referral agreement. Hey, Daniel, you're doing this, I'm doing that. We got somebody coming in. I'm going to refer them over. You'll refer back. That's a referral agreement, which is different from a joint venture agreement. A joint venture agreement is a little bit more structured than a referral agreement, and there's actual expectations of what is expected in a joint venture agreement. It is understanding what the outcomes are, what we're both trying to get to. In other words, I'm trying to get into your marketplace, you're trying to get into mine. I'm trying to get access to your technical know-how, whatever it might be. And again, remember I mentioned earlier about the AOL deal that we had a joint venture partnership with. We were trying to get into AOL's universe because at the time they were one of the largest internet providers, and getting access into their system allowed us to be exposed to millions of users, and we wouldn't have had that capability on our own. So that was the joint venture partnership and the kind of revenue share and everything then that came with it that we wanted to do through that partnership. So think about what you're doing in your business and how that may be making a difference for your own clients and your own business overall as well. How you do that, how you structure it, how you nurture it. There's certain things that you need to be thinking about. And really important, though, to go in where both sides understand what they're looking for. It's clearly understood. And then what are you going to be doing moving that forward? And the more formal you are with it, the more detailed, of course, everything will be.
So, I mean, can you maybe explain to the people in the audience about like how is like setting up like JV partners different than like running meta ads or other types of marketing? Like, what's unique or special about running JV partners and stuff like that?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. And that is a great question because here's the idea. If you're running paid ads, you're putting it on Google, you're putting it on Meta, you're putting it on TikTok, anywhere, right? TV, print, radio, direct mail, you are spending money on marketing that you're hoping is going to ultimately turn into a client for you. There's definitely opportunity to be getting leads that are generated through those channels. I mean, direct mail, email, broadcast, online, those are all amazing opportunities, but it's not guaranteed to be producing any kind of real business for you. A JV partnership, on the other hand, is a lot more focused. If you think about the last time, as an example, that you went to your doctor and they suggested you need this special thing done, and they told you, call one of these two or three places, or maybe they just gave you one person to reach out to, that is a joint venture partnership. Whether it's a structured one or an unstructured one, that is a joint venture partnership. I can refer you to someone else. This just happened with me because I went to one of my doctors and they sent me for physical therapy. And they said, all right, go to this place. And that is exactly what that is like, right? They say, go here. there is a joint venture partnership that is in place, whether again formal or informal, but they are making that referral to that physical therapy place. All of these kinds of ideas, when you are in that position and someone says, this PT place, that doctor, that provider for anything, you are going to be a lot more trusting of that referral. And then you are going to more likely become a paying client of the receiving party. Whereas if I say, go look at that Facebook ad, okay, now what? Right? I don't necessarily know who this company is. And unless I really want to spend hours researching who this company is, I may or may not want to do business with them. And so the value of a joint venture partnership is that when you move over to the uh, real introduction, if you will, it becomes so much easier to close the sale and get more opportunities.
That's wonderful, Jennifer. Thank you very much. So, from my understanding, from listening to that, it's like like obviously like if a doctor wants to refer somebody like a PT or some like another different type of specialist, then why do they need like a business coach such as yourself to help them out with JV partnerships? What can you maybe explain like what is it you bring to the table, or how do you help businesses? Like, do you help them set up the JV partnership? But you said like sometimes there's like maybe like a contract or an agreement involved. Do you help them with that, or do you help them find their partnerships, or do you maybe discuss if JV partnerships is right for them versus other types of advertising models?
Right. So it's really simple. And what I said earlier on when I was introducing myself was that I want you to, first of all, listen and take action on what we're doing. And if you still decide you want to work with me, you can definitely choose to work with me. I'm not holding back. Nothing is up my sleeves. I mean, granted, I've got a brace on, but nothing is up my sleeves. You can see that I'm not holding back. I am giving you exactly what I would be telling my clients also. Joint venture partnerships are a great way for you to be moving forward. Now, obviously, working with me, I help my clients understand what it means to create these partnerships, how they have to, first of all, find those ideal partners, how to structure the partnership, how to nurture the partnership, and how sometimes to end the partnership. There's all sorts of issues that do come up, and we need to act quickly to figure out exactly what it is that we are doing to stop it. Now, one of the things I will say is when you look to find those people that you want to do a partnership with, think about who else is your ideal client already doing business with. Is it okay if I share a real client example, Daniel?
Yeah, please.
Thank you. So I have a florist client, and one of the things that we did when I started talking with them was I looked around who else is nearby that the florist is geographically nearby where they are located. You know who was two doors down? A jeweler. All right. Now you're probably thinking, is there a real connection? And I'm going to say yes. You know why? There's two major event chains in a florist's business model. I'm going to take the really happy one. You can figure out the sad one. But the really happy one is the bridal market. Okay. The bridal market, ding, ding, ding. Now you've got the jeweler, right? So what we did was we created a joint venture with the jeweler because when a guy is coming in to get the ring, the jeweler may say, go next door and get the flowers. Somebody's coming in for the flowers, they may say, go next door and find a gift at the jewelry store. But what we ended up doing was we didn't stop at just the jeweler and the florist. What we did was we looked at the entire event chain. So we have the jeweler, the florist, the printer, the baker, the photographer, the officiant, the caterer, the hall, the DJ, um, the wedding planner, the who else was in there? The I mean, all of these different people that are involved in that event chain. And what we did was we created a trusted vendor list. Why is that so important? And ladies, I know if you went through this, you're going to know as well as I do. Bridezilla can be real. And you have so much that you are dealing with when you are planning out a wedding. The last thing you want to be worrying about is finding all of these different vendors that can be fulfilling whatever your need is, right? If I need the invitations, I don't want to talk to 30 different printers. I want to know that this one printer is going to deliver exactly what I'm looking for. Same with the officiant. I don't want to be talking to 100 different officiants. Yes, sometimes I'm already working with the rabbi, the priest, whatever it is that will be marrying us. But again, there may be times where I just need someone. All of these different people, if they know how to work with the other providers, it becomes a much smoother event, right? The wedding becomes so much smoother. So what we did with creating this whole trusted vendor list was we dropped the issue of now I have to find a new photographer and a DJ and this one and that one and everything else. And we made it really easy. Everyone up and down the list was in a position now to be getting referrals from the others. So depending where you are going up the chain, you may be paying a small referral fee up the chain, and everyone down the chain would be paying you a referral. And excellent opportunities to be making more money. And even if you don't have a referral arrangement in terms of paying something, everybody in that group has an ability to be making additional money. And that is one of the areas that I come in and I help my clients understand how to structure, how to nurture, and continue growing that relationship.
That sounds like a really great deal because, like, I was again compared to something like Meta or Facebook ads, where like you have to put up a lot of money up front with really no guarantee. Like somebody can, a business can spend $1,000, $10,000 a month on paid ads. Here, it's like you're really paying on after, like on an acquisition basis, where like someone's actually referring a customer to you. Am I correct in that understanding?
1000%, Daniel. You pay on action, you don't pay beforehand on an unknown.
Right. So in many ways, it's a safe bet, which these days in our volatile economy, that sounds like something like a lot of businesses should think about. And you were really smart for thinking about. I mean, were you the one who came up with that idea of like the florist and the jeweler and like making all those type of connections and stuff, or did the client come up with that idea about
That
like?
was me that suggested the whole event chain.
That's really impressive. I mean, I can see like the value of hiring like a business coach like yourself, of versus like trying to figure that out on your own. Because like, if I was a florist, I would think about like making connecting those dots there. But that's really great.
Thank you.
So I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it really, sorry.
go ahead.
It comes down again, thinking outside the box. One of the things my mom has said about me is I don't think outside the box, I think outside the stadium. And when it comes down to looking at it in that regard, too many of us are taught color inside the lines. I was never one, by the way, for coloring inside the lines. I will say that. But I was and still am always looking, how do I take it a step further? How do I make it, all right, I've got this, and I know that this is where I am, but how do I get here? Right? How do I go from here to there? And the more that we can see, all right, we've got joint ventures, that's one strategy we can use. Another one would be looking also at what are we doing with the existing clients that we have, right? Too many of us think, all right, this person just bought from me and I'm good. But I want to ask you something. And I want you to think about that 800-pound gorilla in the e commerce space. And we all know who they are, the one that has A and Z in their name, and the little smiley face that connects them. And I want to ask you, if you think about the last time that you bought from there, did you see, all right, you just bought this and we're done? Or did you see other people just like you bought this too, right? Your cell phone, do they sell you their warranty program as soon as you buy the phone? Or do they say, you know what, you just bought the phone, we're good? We all know upsells and cross sells become so important in terms of what we're doing in business because we can get more transactions out of it. And then the other thing, Daniel, if it's okay, that I want to ask everyone is, when is the last time that you didn't drop your price in a discount, right? Too many of us run. Yeah, we have to discount. We have to drop the price in order to get the customer. But the truth is that every dollar that you discount is every dollar that you lose in the profit because your costs don't go down just because you drop the price, right? If it costs you $100 and you're selling it at $200, you're making a $100 profit. But if you drop it by $50 to get the customer, right? So instead of selling it at $200, you're selling it at $150, your cost is still $100. You're not making it there. And so you're only making then that $50 profit. And that's at a 25% discount. That may not even be big enough to move some people, even though $50 is a lot of money. Most people don't get off the couch for under 30 to 40%. So think about what that would mean. And then when we start paying attention then to the value that we give clients instead of the price, now all of a sudden it makes a huge difference. And these are some of the things that I do with my clients to help them really understand who, what, where, when, why, and how to be making changes in their business.
Now, are there any particular industries that are, more suited for like setting up JV partnerships, like you're talking about, like healthcare or jewelry, or is it like every industry can benefit from JV partnerships?
Just about every industry can benefit from joint ventures. And I want to give you another example. Think about a nonprofit organization, right? Now you're probably thinking, how in the world can a nonprofit organization possibly benefit from a joint venture? And you know the answer? Really easy. Because a nonprofit organization is always looking to reach more donors and get the word out about the cause. If you think about it this way, if a nonprofit organization teams up either with another nonprofit or with a company or an individual to do something where it can benefit them, it is a tremendous opportunity. And I'm going to give you a real world example again. I am in the process of writing a novel because I haven't done enough writing in my career yet. So I figured, let me just do a novel too. By the way, I have 4 business books already out with more on the way. But in terms of the novel, one of the things that I did was I said, all right, I need to come up with characters' names. I can go online. Somebody told me that there's a website that I can see every single cemetery and all the graves and pull the names from there, which kind of whatever. But one of the things that I did instead was I said, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put out a call and I'm going to say, for everyone that donates to St. Jude Children's Hospital, at least $5, I will use their name in the book, as long as they show me that they did it. And if you want your business name in the book, at least $100 to St. Jude, and I will use your business name in the book. And that doesn't mean you're a good person or a bad person, or I'm only mentioning you once or twice, or I'm using you a million times in the book, but you are being in the book, right? You're being immortalized in the book. And the value there is that from a joint venture perspective, while it is really one way in the sense that right now I'm driving the value to St. Jude, when the book comes out, they may want to do the same the other way around because I was good to them in the beginning part. And so any industry can really benefit from that joint venture strategy. It's just a matter of how do you think about it, how do you implement it, and how do you continue to nurture it.
That's great. And so when you're working, like, since you've been doing this for a long time and you work with all different types of companies and different industries, what's the biggest difference between working with like a smaller startup versus, an established company?
So obviously, the funding is one of those things that an established business is going to have a lot more of than a startup. But the truth is, though, is that one of the things, and part of it really comes down to the saying, you can't teach an old dog, new tricks. Sometimes when you're dealing with established businesses, they are so entrenched in the way that they've been doing things for so long that they can't get out of their own way to fix the problems that they're going through. And so that becomes one of those issues that I do frequently find myself running into. I have one client in particular who keeps on being a naysayer. It's not going to work for us. It's not going to be this. It's not going to be that. And I always wonder what exactly is the value that they're getting. I mean, if they were really understanding, all right, you got to think a little bit differently. If you're still saying the Yellow Pages ads were working, it is time to really rethink the marketing strategy. And too many people are still stuck in that mindset. One of the things that one of my coaches said is there's 5 words that can really make you bankrupt. Yeah, but I like it. Think about that. It worked for me in the past. All of these different things that are out there, it doesn't mean it's working for you today and tomorrow. You need to be thinking differently. And that becomes one of the differentiators of the established businesses versus the startups. A lot of startups are really hungry to get out there and avoid the trial and error. And that's where a lot more startups tend to want to work with a coach and figure out exactly what they're doing so that they don't have to go through the years and years of trial and error.
Uh, wow, that's really interesting that you mentioned that. I mean, because it's interesting how people have different perspectives. I mean, like a smaller company, a larger company, or even like, could be two smaller companies that have totally different perspectives on how to do marketing. I mean, how can businesses assess or know if JV partnerships are right for them?
So it really is going to come down to understanding who the avatar is. And when I say avatar, for anyone that doesn't understand that term, it is a representation of your ideal client in whatever form that is. But normally speaking, when I'm working with a client and any other marketing consultant is working with their client, the client is always asked, let's come up with who this avatar is. And so you come up with a whole backstory for the avatar. And I want to use an example. And for those of you that have absolutely no idea who I am, I will tell you I'm a huge Disney fan, right? I've even got my Mickey Mouse character sitting right here on my desk because of the fact that I'm a huge Disney fan. And when I say that, it's because the names Michael and Jane always seem to come into my vocabulary. I can use Mickey and Minnie too, but Michael and Jane are Mary Poppins, the kids from Mary Poppins. And when you're thinking about Michael and Jane, all right, who are they? Depending on what it is that you are dealing with, Michael and Jane are going to be two different kinds of people. As an example, if I am trying to offer a very specific product, and let's use search engine optimization, SEO, as an example. So if I'm using SEO, Michael might be a business owner. He's an e-commerce site owner. He is struggling to get more people coming to his website. He's got really incredible products that he's selling, but people just don't know who he is. Michael is 37 years old. He's got two kids. He's got a wife. He's got a dog. He drives a Nissan. He lives in the suburbs with a house and the white picket fence and all of that stuff. And his kids go to a really great school. But Michael is on the verge of needing to close his business and get a job because he doesn't have people coming to the site. Whereas Jane, on the other hand, is a 40-year-old woman. She's married, has three kids. Her kids are getting ready for high school. She also lives in the suburbs. Jane has a service based business. She's got a lot of clients coming to her, but is always looking to get even more opportunities because she's looking at scaling her business. Now, if I'm selling search engine optimization services, I need to understand I can't talk to Michael and Jane the same way because Michael has a very different need and a very different outlook on business than Jane does. And so, what we need to be thinking about is how do we really connect the two? Again, marketing to everyone is marketing to nobody in particular. So, what do we need to do? We need to come up with marketing that goes differently. And we need to say, all right, Jane, we're really clear on. We need to say, all right, when you're looking at scaling your business, SEO can help you get even more opportunities. We're going to work with you, get more reviews for your business. We're going to do X, Y, and Z to boost the value, put more blog posts, et cetera, to be driving SEO there. With Michael, we're going to be saying that we're going to be optimizing the product keywords on the individual product pages so that he can be getting even more opportunities because that's the page that we need to be driving even more value to. So, how do we determine what strategies, though, we're looking at? Sometimes we need to just look at the avatar and then say, this is the kind of thing that we need to start with before we look at other avenues. Like I said with Michael and Jane, I'm not going to start offering Michael a joint venture partnership because that's not going to be the thing that's going to bring in the quickest dollar for him. I may want to say, let's look at how do we upsell and cross sell, or I might want to say, let's optimize his product pages to be driving more value. With Jane, on the other hand, Jane, I maybe want to be, and I may be in a position to start with joint ventures because as a service provider, I know, again, depending on the kind of service that she offers, find other related businesses where they can cross refer. So if she's in the insurance field, I can connect her with accountants, realtors, tax people, all of those kinds of folks that can benefit. And she doesn't need the immediate income as much as Michael does. So those kinds of things that we're talking about, that's what really starts saying who needs what and when.
So I want to ask you about that because, like, I'm an SEO expert myself, and I mean, amongst many other things that I do. And one of the things that I noticed that potential clients, they don't want to do SEO because it takes a really long time. Like, SEO doesn't happen overnight. And a lot of times it's a long-term process, like 6 or 12 months, even longer, to see really great results in a competitive niche. I mean, how long does it take to get set up, or can the clients potentially see results with setting up JV partners and stuff? Is it also like, do you tell like potential clients it takes 6 to 12 months, or does it even sooner?
So the simple answer is every business is going to be slightly different based on their ability to sell and their ability to keep and attract new clients. But simply put, though, joint ventures can be an immediate infusion of cash coming in the door. And if you think about it, I'm going to go really, on the low level, we're going to say the doctor and the physical therapist example, like we mentioned. If you're an orthopedist and patients are coming to you because they're either having surgery or they're in pain, it is a really easy connection to go orthopedist to physical therapist. And the physical therapist can do the exact same back to the orthopedist, because the physical therapist can say, you know what, we're just not seeing the kind of um, improvement that we're looking for. I think you need to see the orthopedist again and get there. And if somebody isn't unhappy with the orthopedist, that is again an extremely easy way for the physical therapist to say, you know what, I know that you came here from Dr. P, but let's send you to Dr. M, and you're going to have a much better outcome in terms of whatever it is that you're looking at. And so that kind of joint venture can produce serious results pretty quickly. I mean, it's not going to be a 6 to 12 month lead to get the kind of business that somebody might be looking for.
So, I mean, a lot of businesses waste money on ineffective marketing. I mean, how can business owners tell if a marketing is actually working, whether it's JV partners or a different type of, marketing?
So, one of the things that we all know is, as an example, if you're spending money or investing money on ads, there's something called ROAS, return on ad spend. You want to be looking at how much you're actually laying out and how much is coming in. But before you even do that, though, one of the other really important numbers that you need to understand is what is your acquisition cost and what is the lifetime value of a client. One of the things that way too many business owners rely on is, all right, I'm paying $100 in ads to Facebook, and the client is going to give me $200. Okay, so I have $100 profit on that deal. But what happens though if the client is not even worth $200, or if my costs are $150 on that $200? So I spent $100 to get them as a client. They're giving me $200, but my cost is $150. So I have a cost of $250 and I brought in $200. And so I am underwater by $50. I need to understand though, do I have additional products and services that I can offer? Is there an ability for me to increase the purchase price? And for anyone, by the way, who has ever bought anything online, there's something called a bump in a shopping cart, or OTO, one time offer. I know that just today alone, I don't want to say I fell victim to the OTO trap, but I probably spent today alone in the one time offers through something that I purchased. I spent $800 in their one time offers from a $17 initial ticket. Think about that, where what that means, right? But the point is that if I know that I can increase that transaction size, and I know that I can drive even more value into that client, that $100 ad spend is well worth it, because if I'm turning around and I am getting $1,300 or $1,000 in total sales, even if that's a one-off purchase, I am still making a lot more money. But if I'm stuck on $17 and I marketed only through JVs, or I did a Facebook ad, I may be underwater on that. And so it becomes really important to be looking at that and saying, I know my clear costs and value. The other thing is also, way too many of us look at our bank account and we say, this is how much money my business is making, but we don't understand what our real profit is, because we confuse margins, we confuse gross and net profit, we confuse too many numbers. And too many of us say, all right, my cost is $100. I want a 35% margin. So cost is going to be $135. But the truth is, though, is that $135 is not 35% margin. It is less. And we need to think about what that really means, because way too many of us really don't understand how to really truly look at that, understand our numbers, and know how that impacts what we're doing in the business. And so, to answer your question kind of long-windedly, Daniel, It is that it is really coming down to understanding what a business is doing, looking at those numbers, and then figuring out what is going to be best and understanding what the numbers really are in terms of the marketing and looking at what they've done, let's just say over the last 6 to 12 months, and then figuring out what to cut and what to put more fuel on the fire for.
Oh, thank you for explaining all that. It's definitely a great understanding about how important it is to really like know your numbers and to know like how much money is going in and coming out and all those things. A lot of businesses don't do that. They just like spend money and they don't really understand the true ROI or what's really happening in their business. So if a business is interested in getting started with JV partners, how do you suggest that they get started? Is there any like first steps?
Absolutely. So, one of the things, Daniel, if it's okay, is I have a new joint venture book, and Daniel is going to be including a link to that in the description. So, definitely feel free, download that book, look at it. I'm not charging you to get it. I want you to be getting value, and I want you really to be driving your business forward. And there's a lot of different things in the book that will help you figure out how to start finding those potential partnerships, how to nurture them, and really grow them. But a couple of things, again, like I said, find who else is already speaking to your ideal audience. If you are, and I'm going to pick on Daniel for a second here, you're an SEO provider. Who else will an SEO provider want to talk to? Well, for starters, a web developer. Not all web developers do SEO, and not all companies will provide web development services. So there's a potential ideal joint venture right there. Who else can you be talking with? You can be talking to bankers. You can be talking to accountants. You can be talking to attorneys. You can be talking to payroll processing companies. You could be talking to chambers of commerce, to Rotary clubs, to special improvement districts, to business coaches and consultants. You could be talking to marketing platforms that are not, like the social media platforms, but marketing platforms. A lot of these different companies, your ideal client is already hanging out with those people as well. And so all of these places you can be up and down referring people to. It's just a matter of identifying who is most right for you, the culture, the way that everybody is, the kinds of languaging that's being used, understanding that you're both trying to grow. And again, that's what I meant earlier on not every company, even in that spot, is right for you because, again, you may or may not agree on principle or the morals may not be the same level. But it comes down to I know that this company is going to be best for me, and that's who then I would create that relationship with.
Definitely, we'll put that link in the description to make sure that everybody who watches this video can get access to that. I want to ask you is that you've been in the industry for a really long time, for many years. How do you stay personally motivated and continuously innovative after like decades of being in the marketing industry?
Absolutely, and thank you for that question, Daniel. And the simple answer is that my eye is on my grand prize, and my grand prize is President of the United States. I know that for me personally, that is where I want to end up. And so everything that I am doing is for the forward movement of our small business community. I know here, as well as anywhere else in the world, the small business community generates about 75 to 85% of a country's gross domestic product. If you think about what that means, the economic power that is driven by the small business community is unbelievable. The more that we can increase our small businesses, even if we just increase every small business by 0.1% a year, we increase their business, the value of that 0.1% is in the billions of dollars for the growth that they are having. Think about what that means to each individual community where all of these small businesses are. Because if you have an increase in your business, Daniel has an increase in his business, I have an increase in my business, your next door neighbor has an increase in their business, you start seeing our communities improving. I've been accused of being utopian because if I see the value where everybody is getting better, there must be some sort of dystopia. I don't see it. I'll be honest, I don't see it. But I will gladly take that badge of utopia and say, we can do better. We can do more. We can really find more opportunities. And so, Daniel, when you ask me, how do I stay motivated? It is because I know what I am doing. If I am doing everything that I can to be making this world a better place, in Judaism, there's a concept called tikkun olam, to fix the world. If I can leave the world in a better place than I found it, then I am doing my job. If I can be president of the United States and I can see exactly what that's doing to the small business communities here in the United States and globally, we are all increasing humanity's value and happiness level and helping everyone. Nobody has to be down in order for someone else to gain.
Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. Do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Absolutely. And thank you, Daniel, so much again for giving me the opportunity to be on your show. And the final thought that I have is we discussed so much during this episode. What I really want to strongly encourage you to do is whatever kind of notes you had, whatever kinds of thoughts you had as you were listening to this show, make a plan and put it into action. Way too many people come up to me after I finish speaking on the stage. And I'm sure that if you've gone to events, you too have seen how people come up to the stage, to the speaker, and they start talking with them. And I've had people come up to me and they say, and they show me their notebook. They say, I took 27 pages of notes from you, and I didn't take notes on anyone else. Ego boost, sure. I've got that just like everyone else. Don't get me wrong. But what I always ask is, what are you going to do with it? Because if you don't do anything with it, you wasted your time and you wasted the paper and the ink that you wrote everything with. I want you to go back, think about what it is you're going to be doing, make a plan and put it into action. Try it and see what you can do to be doing something different for you, your family, and your business. Ultimately, if you do that, you are also going to have a better opportunity moving forward. So again, thank you so much, Daniel, for having me on the show today. And thank you all for listening.